What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. I was going home and I was going to do my review in front of my green screen, but I decided since my wife is asleep, I'm going to spare her me yelling in the other room and just do this in my car right out of the theater at 12 o'clock. It's midnight, y'all, and people's probably going to come get me and be like, well, what are you doing in your car at midnight, man? What's going on? And that location just got super awkward, so we switched. Now I'm here. So Operation Finale is a movie that I wasn't like super excited for, but I knew that Ben Kingsley and Oscar Isaac, they were both going to be in this film. Two actors that I love. You have some random people show up that I did not expect to be in this movie. If you guys don't know how my reviews work, I like to talk about the good, the bad, and then give you my score. There are two very special announcements I have for you at the end of this video, so stick around. It has to do with me collabing with some other YouTubers. But right now, let's talk about this movie. Let's start out with the performances, and you know kind of what you're going to get with Ben Kingsley and Oscar Isaac. Oscar Isaac does not stand out here as, oh, that was a magnificent Oscar-worthy Oscar-worthy performance. It was good. It was really good. It's exactly what you expect from the guy because he always manages to deliver. But they were both really good. They provided good leads, and they carried you through this story that really has a hard time trying to find exactly what it wants to be. But when it does, it was actually very engaging. Now, the middle portion of this movie is very slow. But what that middle part manages to do is get you on board with the relationship between these two characters. Not that it's kind of a relationship that you want to be on board with, because you know that they're playing mind games with each other, and you know exactly what's going to happen at the end if you know the true story. And I didn't necessarily know the true story, but I could kind of see what was coming. You know that certain people are manipulating other people, which is interesting because going in, I actually thought this movie was going to be about the trial of what he did to all of these people, but no, it's about how they captured him. They had to do it kind of on the DL without a lot of people knowing, and they tried not to raise all of the alarms, and there are certain people that are trying to come after them throughout this movie, and then at one point they're like, oh wow, this is who's doing it, we're going to find them. So then it kind of becomes a cat and mouse chase. But all of that is kind of this undercurrent to develop this relationship between these two characters and just to see how they spite each other without spiting each other. And you can tell that Oscar Isaac's character starts to actually kind of not care for Ben Kingsley's character, but understand where he's coming from. And I find myself halfway through this movie, I'm like, okay, I don't want to care about this Nazi because you know exactly what he did and all of it was evil. But Ben Kingsley, he's just something about his performances constantly. They just get you on board. And I found myself kind of sympathizing with this character, and I had to snap out of it because then I remembered what he is. And I don't know if it's good that the director tried to get you to care about this Nazi character. You start to discover things throughout the movie, then you're like, okay, I understand where that was going and why it was going in that direction. And I really enjoyed that. I also think the movie's pretty well directed. I have flaws for sure, and we'll get into that in the negatives. But as for the positives, I think it looks good. On a technical level, I noticed some flaws, but they're not major. I just think the movie had that something that a lot of movies don't have. This one had it. There's a lot of good things going for Operation Finale. Unfortunately, it can't capitalize on everything that it's set up in the beginning. And that's where we get into my negatives. There's a lot of plot threads in here. Plot threads that are set up in the beginning of the movie, and they're not really explored, but they expect you to get on board. Like, of course, there's a girl in the movie, and she has this thing with Oscar Isaac's character, right? In the beginning of the film, you see that just tension there, and I'm like, oh, they're going to build upon this. But then all of a sudden, they kind of forgave each other, and they're back together again, and I'm like, okay, there was no middle ground there. You went from one thing to another, and it didn't really feel like it capitalized on the opportunity to develop that relationship. And not that I feel the same way about Ben Kingsley and Oscar Isaac's relationship, but I feel like even that could have been explored more. It's explored in the middle of the film, and that was definitely the slowest part of the movie, but when it was happening, I'm like, okay, I need more of this. They spend a lot of time with these other characters and setting up these other plot points, and that's fine, and I understand that, but what you needed to capitalize upon is your two main stars, and the whole movie, if it would have explored that relationship, I think I would have been more on board. It looked good. It's got a good message at the end. It's hero versus villain. You know who you want to win, even though the heroes do some shady things sometimes, and you see some people lose their cool. Okay, some of the side characters, they didn't work as well as I wanted them to. There are definitely some issues with the relationships, and one villain, one Nazi that is very cartoonish. He's just like a comic booky superhero villain, 1960s Batman. His voice just got on my nerves, and his storyline goes nowhere. His character wasn't concluded, as were multiple characters in the story, but the characters that we're focused on, yeah, you got a good finale to their story, even though you know where it's going. And with all that being said, I'm going to give Operation Finale a solid 66%. It's a decent movie. It's nothing that's going to be game-changing, but if you want to go see a true historical story and come out on what I would call a high note, even though it's dealing with something that you don't want to think about or talk about, but you do come out okay, people got their just desserts, exactly what they deserved, makes me feel good on the inside, and it makes this movie, I think, worth watching. Maybe not in a theater. Wait till it comes out on Blu-ray or Netflix or something. So guys, if you don't follow Zach Pope on YouTube, he just dropped a brand new episode of Entertainment Wars. It is a YouTube game show that I just competed in. Please go check that out. And I just filmed a match of Rotten or Fresh on Ryan O'Toole's channel. I competed against a great competitor in the Real Talk. Please go check that out as well. Guys, a lot of cool things going on right now. I love the YouTube space. Hashtag small YouTube army. You guys are the absolute best, and I will catch you later.